It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent his messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose. But by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs, to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion. That is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness, by giving, will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees, that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of a president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look through our soul, we see nothing but beautiful star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand, to be there to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle. Which that cycle carries with itself is the elevation of the soul to serve, become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 260th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 24th, 2019. My name's Rick Crammond. I'll be your host today. And as usual, we're joined with Mr. Mayran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. And I'm sure that he will give us some interesting information and teachings today. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to start today's session?
Yes, good morning, good day to you, good afternoon, wherever or whenever you listen to this Knowledge Seeker series. This has become actually a fixture sentence for us, that we welcome all knowledge seekers, not only present by physicality but present through their soul. In the past 260 weeks or sessions, there is a discussion that how many sessions we've had, but in total, past nearly 5 years, we have shared a lot of knowledge and we have elevated a lot of people to start thinking in a different way, in a new way. And in the process of teaching, we learn a lot, and in so many ways, we shared a lot. What is important is to see where we can go with this knowledge and how we can go, how far we can go with this knowledge. There are a couple of announcements that Keshe Foundation webmasters and the head of the Keshe Foundation want to make regarding the book. Book number 2 apparently is ready. Is Ella there that he can finish with this and then we start with teaching?
Yes, also, Mr. Keshe, could maybe check your microphone, get it a little closer or something there.
Is
It's
it
a bit
close
weak.
enough?
It's way better, thank you.
The minute you can't hear it, let me know. Is Ella there to introduce, or
Yes.
do we go to say this? Would you like to go over, please?
This week we actually had a happy moment. That happy moment was releasing book number 2, The Structure of Light, on Amazon. So at the beginning of January, we had book number 1 released. And hopefully next, by the end of the month, we'll also have the book number 3. But right now on Amazon, anyone who goes on Amazon, Amazon.com or any Amazon.de, any kind of country Amazon has site on, and simply types Mehran Tavakoli Keshe or types the name of the book, they will see the listing for the book. The price for online book is 19.99 euros plus taxes. And it's immediately, as soon as you purchase, it's immediately available for download on any of your devices. You do not need to have specifically Amazon Kindle device to read the book electronically. You can install on your computer the software that Amazon provides, and very easily you can read the ebook. The links will be put in the chat, so everyone who would like to go and see the book directly, we will send the links in the chat for the people to click and go to. If the host would like to click and share, then maybe we can also show.
Yes. Do you want me to show a picture of that? Just a second here, we can get that.
Please.
I was searching in Amazon and I was searching in Google, and it came up with Amazon for the structure of the light. And it actually came up. Well, let me show you this first. It's kind of funny. Okay, let me just share. So this is the first link that came up in Google. Actually, was the structure of the light, second edition. Oh, sorry, this was a different one then.
Yes, this is actually one of the good examples of books being taken and reshared in the name of the Keshe, in the name of Mr. Keshe, but actually abusing by putting it with.
Well, it's interesting that there's only 2 used ones available and they start from $895.
Rick, so, if you press the links, click on the link.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that here now to get that straightened out.
Can I get paid for my books that much? First time, forget about the second.
Nice to get a cut on that, eh, Mr. Keshe?
Well, I don't mind. I just.
But it's interesting because it just shows how valuable the first editions have become, perhaps. So that's quite interesting. Okay, I think this is what you mean, Ella.
Yes, this is the second edition, and the author is Mehran Tavakoli Keshe.
My God.
Click on the look inside there above the picture.
And they want $3.99 for shipping too. Ella, you're doing something wrong.
Apparently, Mr. Keshe.
22 euro, my God. $22.
So that means when we will publish the first edition, Mr. Keshe, we will go also to $900.
Well, I don't mind. Oh, a few numbers. Some books have been signed. I think one day they might have some for you if there is no copies of them. Okay, that's good. Do you have anything else to offer us except the book? If you
Yes, we actually would like to remind the people about the promotion that we have, which is called Plasma Valentines. Rick, if you kindly share the store link with us, please.
Okay, just a minute here while I find the link.
We have in the Plasma Valentine's promotion 2 packages. One package is the cosmetics line, K Plasma Care, in which we offer one shower gel, one shampoo, and one liquid hand soap. They're all having unique fragrances for the type of cosmetic, and they are of course plasmatically processed. Therefore, we created the gift package for $14.99 plus shipping and taxes, which would normally be at regular price $19.99. So the promotion is valid until the end of February, and of course, it can be for your special Valentine, or it can be simply for you to pamper yourself at any time. Another package that we have is the plasma pouch. The plasma pouch is a package of products which contains the pain relief pen, the plasma neck pad, plasma relaxation mask, and a plasma magnetic insulet, the new version of insulet that we will launch. And they are all together in a carry-on pouch, so that it's very easy for you to take your favorite plasma product anywhere you go. Please be it in a travel, you can just carry it in the pouch and have it as soon as you need it. And the price for it is 149.99 plus shipping and taxes. So the same, the promotion is valid until 28th of February, and be sure to get yours. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed. What I tried to do this week is something that opens the eye of some of you who are familiar with the science, and some of you might come to it somewhere down the line. And it's so much in respect to the reality of life in the world of science, and how scientists are developing different aspects of technology in the background, and it's taking hold in a very, what they call, elite scientists in the world. You know that we had a scientist who claimed that the black hole is the eating machine and the rest of it, which we have proven it, and we know, we see in reality it's not. Which with it, the, what I call it, um, a lot of terminologies has been created, and these terminologies are very hard to get out of the system because a lot of people accepted it. The, what we call, the terminologies like the horizon, point of horizon, and the rest of it, which comes to the black hole, that once you get to this point of horizon, you can never come back, and the gravity will take hold of you. And in so many ways, um, these theories are still carrying on, because one person, one uh, person has not asked, you're sharing pictures on this, can you take these pictures off please? Somebody sharing pictures on the screen of
Uh,
participant.
it was just the transition until the next screen share was happening.
Yeah, because I just received it. It stays on my screen.
It was just for a second, and it probably comes again from the Zoom update. The
Sure. should be seeing the Knowledge Seekers Workshop stars background there now.
No, I don't see. I still see the pictures. It's okay, no problem. What is interesting is that these terminologies in the world of science and creation of black holes, which has started with Stephen Hawking, still carries on. And as I said, it's become very difficult to change because they come up with so many theories on it that these theories have built up its own momentum, and it's getting defended by scientists in a very aggressive way. And the new technologies are coming in that by development of these technologies, we are creating more fallacies and more unacceptable knowledge in the world of science. And one of these is called the three-dimensional state of the universe, and what they call the hologram. Some of you might have heard this terminology. What this terminology is that the whole universe is a hologram. There is no reality to it. And the reality is that the universe is a flat two-dimension above, and what we look at is no reality to it, but we have come to accept it as reality. And what is interesting is the hundreds of millions of dollars are getting spent on this what you call fancy talk, and it is good for the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers to understand what this is, and then you understand how this thing is taking hold, and governments are spending billions on it, and very soon somebody will bring it to a point of what you call it reality. What is hologram position of universe is that it's considered that the universe is flat, and then the reflection from this flatness creates images inside which are not real, being the galaxies and the stars and everything else. And in so many ways we can redefine this what we call uh, hologram principle is getting a lot of money spent on it. It started a few years ago, and now they're actually creating things to confirm it's true. And people, because they can see things, they believe in it. What it is, let's say they say there's a picture, two-dimensional picture of the galaxy, and then underneath of it, if you look at it that way, here we see a galaxy, which is actually, there is no galaxy, it's just light shining into it. It gives us that image. And one of these non-real things is planet Earth, because it's got again image on the surface of two dimension. This partially comes and started due to a lot of what we call computer programming, and then now they're writing computer programs which actually can make it and show it is. But in reality, no one has asked a single question. Why these people are spending so much money on a lot of fallacies? Because we see this. We see this in a real life, and nobody's stopping this, what I call this game of what we call the hologram picture of the universe, that if there is a galaxy here, actually creates, and there is a pin across it that it holds its position. So it's imaginary pins, but magnetic field is there. So you see on the surface of the what we call the two dimension, this is to them the reality. This is actually exists, and whatever we see underneath is just a hologram. So the real life is in two dimension, and we see what they're explaining. But in reality, nobody has told these people that if you stand somewhere on the earth, my famous man, and you look at the sun is flat. None of us sees the sun as a full sphere. We always observe the sun as a flat entity, but in the shape of a circle. So we know the sun is there because when we look at the earth from the moon, we see earth again flat. So in reality, is the earth flat? We are living on it, but the earth is round. And because we know we mine in it, we travel around it, we go everywhere of it. So when it comes to the new science of holography and in a way trying to convince you that the universe is flat, yes, in the eye of the man as an observer is flat. But in reality it's not, because the man on the moon sees the earth as a flat disk. The man on the earth sees the sun as a flat disk and the moon as a flat disk. So this theory of holography, they have created dimensions to it, and they have created to say that it is a flat entity. But what is interesting, what this topic, this subject brings up, is now that they have managed to create hundreds of millions of stars and they say they're hologram, and they confirm that it has a phase share like the earth outside, like very much if we have eruption inside the sun, we see it on the surface of it because it bubbles up and we see it. And they say that this surface is flat and it's two-dimensional, and this hologram of the universe as we see it is a reflection of the flat surface. This changes something very fundamental. For the first time, mankind confirms that universe has a face. There is an end, there is a surface, exactly like the surface of the sun, the earth or the moon. And in so many ways, in this theory that they are building up, that in fact, quite possible that the universe has a face, because as we say, the universe is unicos. And so as we stood here and we watched the earth and the sun and the moon, if we stand in another dimension, we'll see the face of this universe. And as is in book number 3, we are part of a unicos. There are many of these flat surfaces with the two-dimension pattern, because actually the light through the universe shines on its surface, like a fish in the ocean. But one fundamental question to ask from the scientific world, of what I can explain, is that when you are on the sea, on a boat, and you're sitting on this flat surface of the universe, and it's as transparent of anything, is this galaxy a fish swimming in the ocean of the universe, as it does if you were on a boat on the high seas? Does it mean that our universe has started opening up? Does it mean now that man is getting to understand more in its mistakes, is confirming the existence of the unicos? Huge amount of money is getting spent in UK and United States on this hologram. The last station is about $160 million. Just image producing computer programming. Originally, about 10-15 years ago, this came up because people could not accept the totality of everlasting black hole that it gobbles up everything. A lot of scientists originally thought if everything ends up to nothing, what's going to happen to us? So this is a mirage because we're still here. In so many ways, nuclear physicists, the cosmologists, and in so many astrophysicists all together ganged up to confirm there is no existence. There is nothing, because we were convinced that we all end up in this black hole created by Stephen Hawking and we never come out, and that'll be the end. But if you look at the fundamental principle of understanding of the reality about interaction of the pattern of the fields of the universe, it goes back to the same thing. It's as much magnetical as it's gravitational. What does this mean? It means even a black hole, if you consider it, due to conformation of its existence as an atmosphere. And as we see with the interaction of the fields of the planet, as we see with the interaction of the fields of the sun, it creates its own ripples. And this is what the world of science up to now has denied. And this is why we are coming with all these, what I call ridiculous concepts. Because at this moment of time, in the world of fantasy of the black hole eating everything up, we have never allowed the reality that as much as it's got gravitational, it has a magnetical and atmosphere too. And as we've seen with the Earth, which as any energy of a certain, what do you call it, mass enters it, it creates light with it. It creates dimension of existence of its atmosphere. So, as happened on the surface, in the boundary of the atmosphere of the black hole. We see these ripples of confirmation of the existence of the atmosphere of the black hole when you look at the black hole in the background of the musics of all the galaxies and the fields of the universe as they cross. You see shimmers, you see play of games. So it means for the first time we can confirm a black hole is an entity. A black hole is a confirmation of existence, very much like the sun, the earth, and like any other entity in the universe, where not only it has gravitational pull, but it has its own atmosphere. Stephen Hawking brought us to this mistake, that we always looked as one gravitational field, but in fact it's as same as any other entity. It has as much gravitational as magnetical. And in the paper which I wrote, The Creation of Black Hole, this is what was the meaning and emphasis on. That why we see lights on the what we call magnetosphere of the black hole, it shows that it reflects light out as much as it takes in. As much as it pulls in the interaction with the fields of its magnetical field, it creates and releases light. The way we see when meteorites enter the earth and they burn out and they clear light, how come all those lights get attracted inside, but we still can see on the fringes of it outside? So, for the first time, if you understand this, those of you who go into space technology in the dimension of the travel, you will understand this is one of the biggest gifts mankind has ever been given. High speed, faster speed, transportation using black holes from one spot to another. Don't forget, what you call black hole means the center of intensive fields compactness, nothing else. And if you can from Earth to lock into one and an approach to lock into the next one, you might pass the magnetosphere of it, but you can increase your speed beyond the speed of light by billions of times. Man in time will come to understand the beauty of the black holes. As you know, in a recent past, a claim was built up that they call it dark energy, dark matters, dark energy in the galaxies is the cause of the movement. And now this theory has totally been abandoned by the cosmologists and nuclear physicists because it doesn't exist. Anybody who speaks to you about the dark matter are of the old generation. They have not read the new science book, because now we understand that there is no such a thing as dark matter and dark energy in the universe, because nobody has ever seen it yet. It's just a guess which has started with a lot of other fallacies. But what is important, this part of the theoretical cosmological physics has to be understood by the Keshe Foundation supporters who become part of the space technology. You go beyond the present understanding of the science. You have to go beyond it, that you can understand the speed of light is the speed of light of time and space you're traveling. Maybe in the space of the speed of the light at the Earth gravitational magnetic field, with whatever we guess to be, but if you create another gravitational magnetic field with the same material, you might reach another speed, which is the outer speed in the gravitational field attraction of the light in that matter state. So it could be 2, 3, 10 times faster than the speed of light on Earth. And this is the reason why we see the shimmers on the magnetosphere of the black holes. As different matter strength of the fields decides to adjust in respect to the field strength of the background, and then you see the shimmers. The shimmers of the gravitational magnetic field, or what we call the magrav of the black hole, is one of the best clear indication of the existence of the entity as a whole. And like sun, as much as it gives, it takes. It takes in its transparent condition compared to the illusion of the black inside, and it gives the same through the dimensional translucent atmosphere around it, what we see as shimmers, or what we call its magnetosphere. In so many ways, as we enter the space technology, the true space technology of the universe, not man-made with some rocket propulsion, this will play a huge game in the dimensions of the space travel. What this means, if mankind understands the creation of the black hole within the structure of the cores of the space star formation, then a new dimension in the dimension of the transportation appears, where zero time travel across different dimensions of the universe becomes a reality without interacting and interfering with any object, be it galaxies, a star, or any other entity. The creation of what we call these three-dimensional programs, which are working on to call it holography of the universe, three-dimensional, to show that it's just hologram and there's no reality to it, opens up a lot for those who work around the Keshe Foundation programs and technology and the star formation. There is an extension in the field of unified field theory. The book number 8 to be released and to be written is only and only about magnetic fields of the universe. How they are created, how and what is their origin, how they become to create what we call a two-dimensional effect, a three-dimensional effect, and how our body has adapted itself for lack of what I call understanding or make it easier not to jam the brain with work of it, convert everything of a distance to a flat surface. And these scientists are using this holography as a way of the same as cheating, but more or less Einstein did to us in respect to speed of light. If you think of it, when the earth is flat in the eye of the man on the moon, then we still have creatures inside, water inside, mine inside, and the whole caboodle of a star or a planet. Then there is a fundamental point in the whole understanding of the structure of the space, and that is, how come that the speck of dust on the boundary of the solar system here becomes a planet and absorbs matters to it? Is there a reality to the term that there is a black hole inside every planet that is to strength that it can create its own dimension and its own magnetosphere? And furthermore, there is the point in the dimension of the soul of the man which replicates the center of the planet. Do we have a black hole within the structure, center of the brain of the man, which by absorbing from the totality of the universe releases some, which becomes the manifestation of the physicality of the man? There is nothing but the truth. But what is important for mankind is to understand the strength that this black hole pulls from the environment of the universe, that in depth of the space they can use it to feed the physicality of the man, and not for the man to kill, to sustain life. In the depth of the space, where do we go and what do we look for? The only thing available with us is the fields which are free within the span of the universe. And this black hole is called the center of the soul of the man. And in so many ways, if you look at it, the size of the brain of the man is the magnetosphere of this black hole. Then you have to decide through the emotion, by in a way controlling, do you want this field or do you want this field, or you are interested in this field, depending on what you want to reflect yourself as to be, or which part and which organ of this physicality you want to feed. The way we open our eyes and we go to a supermarket and we see chicken, leg, breast, sirloin steak, tin of tomato, an orange and apple. Why do we do this? Because we have learned something very simple. We can take this, put it in our mouth, and convert it to what we need. What our body needs. We need vitamin C and we need vitamin A. Why not work through the soul of the man to absorb the fields which led to creation of this, for it to be converted to this, to be converted back on. In a very short time, when a man takes into space through a magnetic gravitational field of the universe, will learn this. Because it's very hard to do this in the structure of this planet. Because it doesn't allow you, and secondly, does not have the field strength for you to be able to test it. For you to be able to examine and see how it's done. So what you need and what we need to learn from understanding of the black holes, we'll go back to the book paper, it's called The Creation of Black Hole. You understand black holes are not only to absorb, but in absorbing they reflect. Again, as I said, in different dimensions, in different terminology of the physics, we call this in the human body the brain of the man, this magnetosphere. On Earth, we call it the Earth atmosphere, and in galaxies and black holes, we call it the shimmering or the size dimension of its existence. So, in fact, the whole world of science changes when you understand through the structure of your brain, to the strength of the structure of the brain of the man, man can travel the space of universe in no time, using the condition of the structure of his own existence through the central brain, or what we call the soul of the man. Now, do we need to accept the holography and all that science is throwing at us, just because from a distance the body of a man is flat too? When I look at you from a distance, I see pencil. But you know, in that there is a heart, there is a lung, and there is a yearning to be. But what is important for us is how far man will go to see through this, what we call the central point, the soul of the man, in the center of it, what we call the black hole of the existence of the life of man. Where does the emotion sit? In the human brain, we have found places we call it, this is the emotion of sadness or whatever. But where does the soul of the man hold the secret? In so many ways, the secret is very simple. If this is the black hole, the soul of the man, man existence in the dimension of the Earth, and the black hole in the galaxy somewhere in distance, can the man release so much that he can tap not only to the black hole itself, but to his magnetosphere and give it the strength as he needs, and feed itself on new spaces that does not need to kill. We always look at absorbing energy from the orange. What about absorbing energy from the depth of the universe as it's free and totality every cell of man needs? Now you understand the knowledge changes. The game of knowledge. But to understand this creation of the fields and direction of motion, and in a way the feedback of it, that it can become part of what you need, needs a little bit more understanding about the truth about magnetic fields. I prepared you for this last week in a very simple way, but I'll prepare you a little bit longer, deeper, that you come to understand something very new. If you look at it, the magnetic field from a magnet moves from one magnet to another. But we know by the condition of the existence, the field will come back on itself. But we know in reality that there is a field flow in the opposite direction in the whole process too. Because when we put two North Poles against each other, it creates a space. And as we are in a plasmatic condition, there's numerous amount of north and south poles in the plasma of the matter. Then you will understand, as this needs to travel this way, from the point of observer of here, this is magnetical and this is gravitational. But from the point of observation here, this is gravitational and this is magnetical. But what is important to understand is this, that this thing itself has a field, and this field in the interaction with its environment, it creates very much a magnetosphere of itself. And at the same time, the same happens and applies to this, that this creates its own magnetosphere. And what will be interesting to see is the interaction of the two magnetic fields floating in a direction, but by the compactness of the material inside the matter state will create a light in this region, which creates a very effective line of interaction by the speed that, if the man understands, become a trajectory for a speed of light to travel, depending on what strength of light you decide to travel in. So, what this means is very simple. That is, every field we see which floats, every dimension we see and we understand, is that as you have the gravitational field in respect to here, you have magnetical, the same, which is in this direction. And in being dynamic, they create a vortex of life and light which man can use. In so many ways, if you look at it, one is stronger and one is weaker, and as the weaker comes to feed the stronger, it creates a vortex that the interaction of the field of the vortex creates light, or what we call visible light. But at the same time, the interaction of these two fields create noise or sound. Or images of sound. We know the images of sound very well, but we have never understood how. We know the images of a sound of what are called light in a perfect motion, and we have learned how to convert it, but we never sit and think and literally understand this process. This will become a painful barrier for many of mankind in the depth of space. Many men or human beings will return from space totally mentally disoriented. What is the reason? Man knows this effect on this planet, but has never stood still to understand it, because now in space will face this, and it has to solve this problem for itself, not for no one else. Let me explain it this way. We had a soul. We explained last week that in the time of sleep or even weakness, I is the doorway for the soul. And as much information goes out of it, more comes in it, day or night. Does not matter if we close this or not, continuously absorbs a vision of seeing what is happening, and the soul uses the eye, the cavity of the eye, or the whole of the eye, to be able to penetrate and break into the open spans of the universe in a much easier way without the bandwidth. But with a very big but, and that is, we go to sleep, and the vision of the soul of the man does not matter if the physicality of the eye of the man is closed, comes across the mother. He can see, and in return recognizes this soul through its image as the mother. But since when? Since which time we listen through our eyes? When you dream, does the voice of the mother go through the ear hole that you hear the conversation? Or on return of it, is converted to the noise of the mother, the voice of the mother, as it returns back to itself? Then is the reason that man considers that he hears the voice of the mother and what she says through his ear in the soul, or is the information is actually transformed to the knowledge of the words we understand and the entry to the eye of the man, and not through the ear of the man? Would you hear God if He speaks to you, or if you put your fingers in your ears, you will not hear Him because you block the hearing part from the what we call the physicality of the man? Now you understand how the soul of the man, through dimension of itself, not only sees but hears through the same, feels and shares through the same. Does not need arm and a leg to feed itself, but through the span of universe, in what it has seen and has, can take what it likes. And strange enough, when it comes to the depth of the space, you see the soul of a creator, or the soul of the creation, and it's for you to understand what it says, through the light of the eye of the man, as the guy does not make a noise that it can come through the ear of the man. So what we understand is when we dream about our mother and she speaks, do we hear the noise through our ear, or do we convert the voice in the eye of the man in the direction of the soul of the man? So if you are deaf, you should not be able to hear the mother. And if you are blind, you should not be able to dream of the mother and see how she looks. Or when you sleep and close your eyes, you cannot hear or see the mother, but you remember everything about what she said, how she looked, what she was wearing. Now you understand how simple the truth about the creation of life is, and how much we have misinformed ourselves, and now we are creating new dimensions to fool ourselves and convince the others that what we say is a new science. Then, if you understand this, the soul of the man is flat too, and there is no brain. And it hardly creates any atmosphere for itself. Now we understand how far we have to become open-minded, to understand the totality, and not when we are in a space to think there is somebody in my head, playing with my head, somebody is talking to me. Because if you change the strength of the fields of your soul, or the black hole of your soul, then you can hear, but not necessarily liking what you have created. I hope you all understood. It is not easy if man chooses to close his eyes and intellect to fallacies of present science. Because you're going to have a hard time in space. You do not see with your own eyes, but your soul sees the dimension of existence. You cannot hear nothing with your ears, but you communicate and converse with what is in front of you without actually using any voice. Then it goes back to what we always say. How do the babies talk and communicate with each other? And how the small animals know their ranking when it comes to feeding. They have no numbers on their back, and they are not very good mathematicians with numbers. How do they rank themselves? And they appreciate that ranking. If you are a farmer and you have a herd of cows, when they come back in for milking, always number 9 goes first before number 10. And if number 10 is taken out to be done something to, number 11 knows this is point, you will not touch. So what it comes to us as a human being is how do we see in the depth of the space, and how we can collect and connect the totality of the knowledge we have with the real science of understanding of our own creation, how we are created. And if we understand how we are created, then we can create any creation, because we know how and where and what needs to be done to create that condition. Then it comes to the point of, do we need a male and a female to have reproduction of the cells and life? Or in the dimension of the existence of the universe, in realizing the demise of our lives, that we cannot absorb more from the universe to be able to give more, we decide to split, that the interaction of the two keeps the total entity of man. And then we decide how we share the fields. This is not an easy job, because sooner or later we have to face it. We have to understand the strength of our soul. We have to understand how far we can extend the parameters of this soul, that it can hear what's going on planets this or that, or you buy yourself something that could confirm, oh, another 20 centimeters of it is better than that. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. And I'll remind the attendees that they can put their hand up and we can patch you through to be able to speak. Panelists, you should be able to speak if you wish. We have a question in the live stream from Freed. He says, printed holograms can be cut up and have the whole picture in them. Is that a better understanding of holography, as in the parts comprise the whole, or is fractals a better approach?
Repeat the question and you'll find the answer. Just read it again, the answer sits in it.
Yeah, okay, so the question from Freed is, printed holograms can be cut up and have the whole picture in them. Is that a better understanding of holography, as in the parts comprise the whole? Or is fractals a better approach? So you're saying, Mr. Keshe, that the answer is contained within the question, as in it's the same idea that the parts of the picture contain the whole picture at the same time.
In a way, yes.
So
what is macro is in macro. But now the plasma field has a full spectrum. It's not like a telephone. It's actually is a dust, smaller than dust. We have to look into the reality of the time and space. We have to look into dimension, the travel of the entity towards us. And then we have to consider that we are one of the 146, but in 3 dimensions. It's very simple, extremely simple. Any other question?
I'm just looking here, Mr. Kesh, and waiting patiently for one of our panelists or attendees to venture a question. Let's see here. There's nothing in Facebook or YouTube. There are a couple of questions, but I'm not sure if they're relevant to our current conversation here. So I'm waiting for something relevant and profound, or
Yeah,
maybe.
you see, one of the most important things which man will come to understand, as he says, that the black holes absorb everything, and within the center of the body of the man, there is a black hole we call in the center of the brain. Then there is a very fundamental question to ask. When do we get to play with all? Or do we pigeonhole it and ignore a lot of it to fit some of the formulas we want to do? These things cannot be taught and just cross fast to another subject. These things needs to be listened to, this needs to be thought about. It needs a full comprehension of the totality. And then it comes back to one thing. If everything in the universe gets absorbed inside the black hole, and when we look in the depth of the universe, beyond it is black, are we ourselves trapped in a black hole? And then, as they say, the information in the black hole gets all muddled up, and on the line of horizon, it loses everything. There is no information left. But does that actually happen? Do,
Oh, go ahead, sir.
do we leave the imprint of the knowledge we gathered on the surface of the black hole, as is the theoretical science is talking about? Or do we carry it with us within, and then it's part of us? And then when we come out of this black hole in any shape or form, according to the present scientists, do we carry that knowledge back with us out of the black hole? And is that black hole the soul of the man within the center of it, which is so compact that it has the full spectrum of the field, the strength of the universe, even of the Creator? The, the, the understanding of the new philosophies in cosmology, because you have to understand, from the time in 2004 Stephen Hawking confirmed that he's made a mistake, the scientists had to look for something else to spend their money and time on, and they came up with this holographic universe. Because now what they work to confirm, the boss is gone, he's turned out to be a liar. So a new lie has established. But we are the passengers of this flat surface, and according to what they want us to believe in, there is nothing underneath of us, we are just floating. But as we see the magnetic field strength, as it slows down, it compacts. One of the biggest fallacy in the world of the cosmology, and it's the creator of most of the understanding of the problem in the cosmos physics and in astrophysics and in the present physics, that even Einstein, again out of his stupidity, emphasizes on, is that they use the terminology of the cooling of the universe, not the reduction in the magnetic field strength of the fields of the universe. Universe never cooled down, but in the attraction of the fields, it has lost its strength, and it's a reduction in the field strength that it leads to creation of the new matter in the new dimension and strength. This is another fallacy. This is something that, as nuclear physicists, as understanding of the total structure of the cosmology, we cannot get this thing out. There was never a heat in the creation of the universe. It's a step down, reduction in magnetic field strength, which leads to the creation of new matters at the strength of their vision, not in totality of it. Otherwise it would have been one solid block of universe, because there's all matter all the time. We see matter in different strength in our line of vision and conformation of existence, not in cooling of the fields. It's not a cooking pot. It's the interaction of the fields that in reduction we see the creation. This is what I say, bunch of bookkeepers suddenly took hold of everything and they became normality. It's like today's politics. Bunch of bandits have started running the universe, the world. And criminality and bombing and killing have become the norm. So when you speak about the truth about the fields of the universe and somebody tells you it cooled down and life was created, I don't see any cooling down when a neutron splits into electron and a proton. I see reduction of fields, and according to the package and the size of the fields and the strength of them, they create a new dimension, what we call electron and a proton. We have heat in what we call nuclear reactors because the fields interact with the matter state of the liquid and they lose their heat to it. But inside the plasma of the neutron, there is no heat, as is reduction in the field strength. In my teachings a few weeks ago, I referred to this, that is the center of the sun billions of degrees, they tell us, or is just a reduction in the field strength and in touch like a nuclear reactor when we touch the water of a different matter state with the fields of the radiation of the what we call nuclear material in their motion, we create heat. And this is what happens on the surface of the sun. This is what happened on the surface of the earth. Due to the interaction of the fields of the universe with the inertial matter state of the planet, we create heat. Not due to the interaction of the gravitational magnetic field from the center of the planet. The whole world of physics is totally upside down, so much packed with nonsense that now to get it right is God's job, because no man can change the whole situation. When you read the paper about unified field theory, you understand where you sit in respect to yourself. And then you don't come up with all this nonsense of the extension, breaking, gravity is different than magnetical, and the magnetical is totally something else than gravity. It's just a point of reference. And in the field to get to you, it reduces in its strength that it gets closer to you because it has to interact with so many other fields. And in that process, it heats up because it loses so much of its energy. If this was so that by the interaction of the fields, we create heat, and then heat reduction leads to creation of universe. Then when you put two magnets together, north and south, you should see creation of a lot of universes, because there should be a lot of heat in there and you can cook on it. It doesn't happen. Fallacies in the physics and in the world of people who could not understand has taken hold of the science, and it has to be corrected. This terminology of the cooling of the universe led to the creation of the stars is as much as Mr. Hawking's black hole and Einstein's the speed of light, made by a bunch of people who never understood the science of creation. The fields from the central line of the universe, as they spread out, they interact, and their interaction lead to reduction of fields that, in respect to that position in the universe, leads to compactness of what we call observation of matter state in the eye of the man. That, in that position, we call it a galaxy or a star. But if you are from another dimension, you don't see anything. Is non-existence. To us, galaxies exist according to us, to point of observation of us. But if you are from another universe, if you are of the highest order of the strength in creation of the structure of your soul, the galaxies is just like walking through the cloud. Does not exist. Because it's not at the strength of my strength, it's below. So to me has no matter state. But then I see other galaxies in the position and a different dimension and times according to my point of observation. We see there is a lot of emptiness between the galaxies. We see a lot of emptiness between the stars. There is never ever emptiness. It's not that. That is because our vision, our point of vision, magnetic field strength, and the protein of the man does not see the entities which are sitting in these captured areas. We are galaxies within the galaxies, but we don't see the outer layers. And in fact, there is more structures within the galaxies that are not visible to us, because our amino acid at 43 proton, electron, whatever you want to call it, only can create fields at a given strength and not beyond it. And then we say nothing exists because we don't see it. Can a blind man say the sun doesn't exist because he doesn't have the eye to see the brightness of the day? Has man become that stupid? As you become man of space, you have to open your mind. You have to understand the totality, because somewhere you make a mistake and you end up in the center of a stone. Not necessarily a stone in the strength of the field of the man, but in a stone in the strength of the field of the other dimensions of the universe. Now get yourself out of that. Today, I open up especially dimensions of the theoretical physics, because without it, we will move into more problems, as then we still stick to the fallacies of the past and we cannot see the new way ahead. Theoretical physics has to be opened up, that with the theory of understanding, we can understand the totality of the reality of the science of the creation. Many terminologies in the present physics has to be restructured, that is understood step by step. And why, the reason I bring these theoretical physics on the discussion table, Different groups of the Keshe Foundation start training teachers of the new universities in different countries. It is the responsibility of these new teachers to teach the correct physics from the beginning and not to be a camel bird or ostrich. In understanding a totality, you can bring and explain. But if our teachers of the new cycle, which are going into universities to teach the teachers of the future, that they teach the children of the future, and we start with the same fallacies of the past, we'll end them up with the same thing. Then somebody else, when he explains the truth, the totality, then they have to fight it because they've been taught different things. In the coming weeks, as we go approaching March and starting teaching the teachers of the universities for different countries, I start to open up the theoretical physics, like today. Because the theory has to be understood in its totality. It's not just making a course on the reactors and the maglev. Most probably, some of you, when you make these things, never understood the theoretical physics. You're still working as a camel bird. You make something but you cannot see, so it doesn't exist. The fundamental theory of the creation is the origin of transportation, reduction, and interaction of the fields. And the rest is accident of the universe. And by order of the magnitude in packages, how you gather together will come to be, and man has given it different name. When you get stuck on the motorway, thousands of the cars in a, what we call inner ring and outer ring of a city, do we call them a new galaxy? Because there's so many stars, what we call the cars with the lights stuck in it. Some of them going away and some of them coming out. Have man become now the creator of new galaxies on the flat land of the surface of this planet? We have to understand the true physics, not made up physics. And man has a habit to jump from one thing to another. When one goes, they find another leader to be one day this, and then that guy goes, now we detect something else to confirm our existence. But if you understand that you exist, you need nothing to attach yourself to. Life is life as long as is within the framework of the time and the position which that life was created, be it the planet, be it the galaxy, be it the universe. Then you have to understand is the interaction of the field which leads to creation of packages. And depending on the position and the strength and most of all, the motion of the fields, how they're allowed to interact with each other, leads to creation of life in that position, leads to creation of creating entities, not necessarily just life. We call our body as a living thing with arms and legs, but we look into the galaxies and we see these things rotating and we call them galaxies. It's another life. This is another form of existence. A galaxy has a magnetosphere, a galaxy has a heartbeat, a galaxy is a living entity. It has arms, it has legs, it moves, it replicates itself, and in the dimension of the existence creates an image of itself. And in that process, we create one, we call it our child, but that galaxy has nothing to do. Does the interaction of the two galaxies create a new cycle of life in the universe? Like egg and sperm. And thus the magnetosphere of this entity leads to creation of fields from the dimensions of the universe to confirm for it to exist for billions of years. Just because we call it is made of iron and the other one's got more gas on it, has it changed the truth about the existence? We have a kidney, a bone, and a finger, and a toe, and a liver. We exist, but that doesn't. Man has to understand the truth about the creation and not be limited to his own ego of being just a man and a king of the creation. In Farsi we say خلقت محبوبات. It means the complete, the head of all the created things. The less you are, the more arrogant you become. The whole world of theoretical physics has to be understood and rewritten to the actual point of event, not a dream of a man on the back of a counting book, and not to the writing of a man who has nothing to do and sits in the name of itself with a bunch of rubbish. The position of the interaction of what we call matter state, there is no resemblance in the position of magnetic field strength. Newton's law does not apply in the dimension of physics of plasma. No way. The laws of thermodynamic cannot fit into the position and understanding of the work of the plasma and interaction of the fields of the plasma. The equations of relativity has no meaning in the dimension of no matter state of the fields, where it needs matter to confirm its existence. Then you understand man needs to create a new dimension, a new book of understanding of the creation in true essence of it, not in the fallacy and fantasy of many. I started today's teaching with the new, what I call beautiful girl in town, which is taking root in the world of science, and is called holography of the universe. And now that Stephen Hawking, thanks God, has gone, and he's gone with all his rubbish, with all his stealing, now that Einstein is not there to add more rubbish to the understanding of the knowledge of a man, now new cycle of people trying to make name for themselves, to create more barriers for scientists, for humanity to step further with more rubbish on the back of their rubbish. And this has to stop. When in the space you come faced with something new in front of you, is it hologram or is it real? If I hit it, would it hit me back? Most probably will. And then it's not a hologram anymore, is it? If I push the field on one side of it, I get pushed on the other side by the field. It's like a sponge box. We are losing, as I said many times, man is looking for a prophet. Man is looking for new gurus. And this is what I have stopped in the structure of the Keshe Foundation. That we all have a say, we all share knowledge, we're all knowledge seekers. That we stop this habit, because in the universe we should be able, when we come across something, to explain it, to be able to live with it, within it, and survive, to be able to carry on to the next time. It's our intelligence and understanding of the true structure of the creation of the universe which allows the man to live in a space, not the dimension of the physicality. If this fruit is red, I better don't touch, it'll kill me. There is no fruit in the universe for you to pick, but there are plenty of fields that you can dilute yourself to nothingness. Or do we create a central station that this guy disappeared in the field because he entered an orange-green light somewhere in the universe? Sorry, if he didn't have enough time to transmit, that it looked like an apple and it was in the hand of Eve. We have to understand that we understand the totality of the science of physics. And now that we're becoming international in teaching, we cannot teach wrong from the beginning. Then the next teachers have to come and correct you because your old plasma teacher from Keshe Foundation said this, so we accepted it. That's correct. As we say in Farsi, "Kharab yar baghali bar kon." Bring the donkey to get it loaded. The donkey is gone. Well, how do you want to get the load gone again? The whole structure of the new teachers of the Keshe Foundation, the whole teaching which goes in the background in KFSSI and now going into universities and around the world. We see many publications coming out in publications, in journals, carry the name of Keshe Foundation underneath of it. Many, many are appearing again and again. We are quoted for our correctness. We are quoted for delivering a new knowledge, and it's in the hand of our teachers to understand themselves before they teach. Ask themselves, Mr. Keshe is dead. If he was here, how would he explain this? Not going looking for Mr. Keshe. He's dead, he's gone. Then we get into all the fallacies of the lies and cheats trying to confirm and conform, and in a space we are lost. Now we are entering a massive teaching ground. You will see in the coming time, in the coming weeks and months, Keshe Foundation will blow in such explosion in science and technology and world economy that we have to be correct and not to sit and rely on the fallacies of the past. If it doesn't happen, why? Do not mix thermodynamic with the others. We see people coming up. We have mixed Tesla, Sears and Keshe to build something. Tesla I accept, but Tesla is in a matter state. Sears, he understood a little bit, but it's still in a matter state. We are in a plasma state. When you explain the beautiful work of Tesla, understand Tesla worked in a matter state condition. Do not mix it with what you learn as a dynamic plasma with no dimension in the world of Keshe Foundation. And teach your students the same. Spend the first hours, explain the difference between Tesla's work and Keshe Foundation work, and the lies of Newton and the theory of Stephen Hawking. You have to understand how the structure works. You have to understand yourself to be able to pass the knowledge. Why do you get a nano layer? And what is the function of a nano layer? Is it just a field, or itself is an entity which can maneuver to accommodate? Then you have to understand inside these layers there is interaction, there is life. There's repetition of energy absorption. The theoretical plasma physics, the theoretical plasma which leads to the creation of life in the universe, has to be understood in essence. As I said in book number 8, I write, and somewhere in it, if you are wise enough, the book will be written the same as Blessed is his name Muhammad. If you read from beginning to the end, somewhere there is 100 names of the Creator, which is us, the beauty of our own soul, but 99 is written. The 100th is the totality of the total 99, which makes you the creator. So in the science of plasma, when you start teaching in a new cycle, try to make clear with your students, especially in KFSSI, especially in the universities, which now we start teaching, training the teachers to teach the students, to teach the students of the future, clarify the state of the matter in the eye of the man, the state of plasma in the work of the universe. And in understanding how you go from one to the other, and you come from one back to where you started or where you want to go to. It's for the first time in the cycle of the understanding of a man that we have managed to go from matter to energy and from energy back to matter. You start with a copper, you put it back in as a GANs, and with the interaction of the GANs you make gold. It's transmutation of the fields of the universe, not matter state of the universe. Because you matter state considered as matter, but it still is in fact another dimension of the plasma, but in a more compact state. Matter state in reality is a mirage, it doesn't exist. It's a
Well, strangely enough, I think we've lost Mr. Keshe
I'm back.
temporarily.
Don't worry,
Yes.
I'm back. I
Right
saw.
where you were saying about being a mirage and
Yes, I saw
everything,
exactly when it dropped off.
everything disappeared at that
Yeah, it
point.
was a mirage. Somebody was listening in the background, confirming the truth. Uh, so what we understand is we have to become aware. In the next few weeks, till we build up to the time as our new teachers go into universities to teach what I call the teachers to become in September the teachers of the universities, and in other dimensions our own teachers. I'll try to cover more of the theoretical physics. Unfortunately, I don't have much time to sit down and write, but it's time for you to write what I teach, and then as it's manuscripted, to be able to be reached. I have given instruction to Keshe Foundation that from now on, every university student which is taught in the dimension of Keshe Foundation technology has a free access to all knowledge of the Keshe Foundation, except specialist subjects like health and agriculture. All our knowledge is freely available to the students of the universities, and it's the obligation of the foundation to set up the structures that all students right across the world will work together. Today I've been in touch with the officials of the government of Sierra Leone that we reopen the South Sierra Leone University as a leading agriculture university in Africa. Because then we can support the same way, and all our teachings to the university students are free. They've each be given their own email access that they can come in and to educate. In talking with official Liberian universities, education structure, the same thing will apply. I'm talking to the government there, that we start teaching the right way. Does not matter which country. I said to you, we are working in the background with a number of governments, in the background with a number of countries for education. In this process, we can teach correct. In this process, we can step further in the whole understanding, but teach the students the right way, the right theory, the way it is, not the way somebody fancied or somebody taught through their ignorance. Newton laws are sacrosanct in the matter state compact plasma energy, not in open plasma energy, because it doesn't work, because the fields of the magnetic field are unflawed themselves, and they interact with each other, and at the same time they have magnetical and gravitational. Newton laws under no circumstances apply. Laws of thermodynamic in the dimension of the plasma does not apply. But still the interaction of the field in a gravitational magnetic field create translucent light and creates what we call universal heat, which has no formula, does not obey any rules. As I always say, if God had a formula, then it says 200 kilogram of zinc and 300 kilogram of this and 20 gram of that will create planet Earth. Creation of this planet is an accident of universe in the interaction of its fields, of different strength and different position. And it's the same with everything in the universe. This is the habit of the man, because now he has learned to make a mold and make a cup, and because I can make a cup is the same with the God doesn't exist. Unfortunately, God never created a factory and never knew what the molds are. Ask yourself, look into the depth of the universe and see why are there so many galaxies? And why are there so many stars within these galaxies? How did they come about to be? And why all more or less follow the same system? And sometimes it's like one going faster than the other, or one being a little bit going to the left, like the cars on the street crashing into each other. And what is the outcome? There is no repair garage of galaxies in the universe. The new fields create new dimensions, new strength, new life cycle. If we were supposed to have a garage in the universe to repair all these galaxies, my God, God would have given up. There's too many accidents. We have to understand the true essence of the creation. We have to understand the true essence of the motion of the fields of the universe and their strength, and in so many ways the reduction in their strength or gain in their strength is not always reduced, is gained, is added to as well. There is only one thing true. As we say, conservation of energy. The same is in the fields of the universe. But the conservation belongs to unicos, not to universe. The same as the sun loses so much energy at a given point, it cannot hold to its dimension. The same happens with galaxies, and the same happens with the universes. They give as much energy out as they absorb from the unicos. In a future time, when man comes to understand the totality, will understand that the soul of the creator affects the size, the dimension of the soul of the man. Because somewhere down the line, it has a common denominator strength, because it was created from it, that it can manifest itself to it. We can explain a lot of things, but in the world of physics, in the world of understanding true physics, a lot needs to be redefined.
Can you take a question, Mr. Keshe, from Christian?
Yeah.
He's had his hand up for a while. You should be able to talk there now, Christian. Unmute your microphone.
Thank you very much. I'm Christian from Germany. I would like to ask a last Knowledge Seekers teaching workshop. You asked us to understand the way our soul works. And I would like to know, when I create a wish, I can feel what happens now, thanks to you, actually. But I do not understand what really happens within my soul. How does it create the wish and send it out in form of fields, of maybe gravitational fields or something? Can you
It's very
tell us
simple.
more about that?
Yeah, it's very simple. How do you wish to have a cup of tea or a glass of water? And you go physically and get it. And you satisfy the thirst. Soul has the same function. It goes and creates fields to reach what was the desire, or to give what was the desire. How many times you passed on the street and you saw someone but you couldn't help? He says, I wish I could do, I wish I could help. Do you need or to put your hand out to help? Or by giving from your soul, you have already attached, given through the hand of the soul to the other soul. But is that soul happy to receive what you give? Or is satisfied with what he has? Maybe not content, but because it knows its limitation, it can take what is there without limit, within that limitation, and be joyful with it, and make the best out of it. You look as the um, giving as you put money in the pocket or in the bucket or in the hat of someone. But does that person need to receive it, or is it a mirage you have? Then is that you got used to physicality of the arm to give, but you have no trust in the arm of your own soul. I made man in the image of myself. If the body of man, a man has a hand, so has his soul. And then you say, I made a wish and it happens, because you now you understand there is more to life than physicality. My soul has a hand too. Very recently, I had to, as part of what we were involved in, trying to help, watched many animals dying. We were there to help. We were there to save. We were there to find a solution. But I stood and watched them. Some dead, some dying, some going through the process of separation of the soul from physicality. And then it touches you. I gave from my soul to it, to them. But have I elevated the soul to elevate the soul of a man, or have I freed them from the dimension of physicality, that the soul did not have to be confined to its position and dimension? then you understand how worthless physical life is. There are certain events in life of a man which opens man's eyes to a lot of things. And in so many ways, I watched many animals just kicking the last life out of them. Not understanding, is it the soul of physicality or is the soul of the animal? But I'm there not as a man of science just to give the water. Not as a man of science just to give an injection. Not as a man of science to give a physical hand. Not as a man of science just to be there to see what can be done. But I'm there as a soul of the creation to give to the soul that the separation of the soul of physicality is smooth. This is what we have to understand. This is when you are in the space and you have no dimension of physicality, but you see something needs help, something needs, feel the strength to move. It's like you go out of the car and you give it a push, but this time the push is not going out and putting hands on it, but you do it with the hand of the soul of the man. Then you get confidence that my physicality has no dimension compared to what I can do with my soul, which created the physicality. And then you say, I wished. It means now you're learning about how to use the soul. And don't forget, when you wish to give someone a hand and it doesn't happen, you're not aware, you haven't become wise enough to see that they keep their distance from the field soul, they increase their strength because they don't need. We have to gain trust and understand man has a dual function, one through his souls and one through his physicality. And now that the knowledge of the man is rapidly developing to understand the creation, understand that the creation of life is from interaction of the fields of the universe, then we understand we can live in both dimensions. We can give with the strength, with the hand of what I call the soul, or we can give with the hand of physicality. Which one do we choose? Or do we become a master in it, like a hybrid car? Sometimes we run on diesel and sometimes we run on electric. Diesel is a physical fuel, electric is a passage of magnetic field. We are no different than a hybrid car. It's just that we think we created it, but it's actually the image of our own physicality. Now that we start understanding the operation of the soul and the physicality of the man. We always forgot that we're carrying the master with us. We always were pushed to see the servant, and we believe the servant, and not the wealth of the master. Because the servant fooled us that he could use it to serve his own master. So when you wish and you say it happened, it means now you have learned, you have another tool in your hand, a new dimension. Because then, in the space when you have no physicality and you wish to communicate with another soul, he hears you, he listens to you.
Mr. Keshe, that ties in with Wolfgang's question that's been in the live stream for quite a while here. He says, in space there's just the soul. So not the eyes, but the strength of the soul and the ability to feel and create and receive stronger emotions is the key.
more or less, maybe weaker emotion, maybe emotion that leads you to somewhere. Many time in the space, you will pick up the vibers of the need. It's very much, I explain this like whales when they make a stress noise from thousands of kilometers, everyone comes to see, all the other whales, to help. In the universe, most of the time, we don't see the entity. We pick up to our soul the vibes of its feeling. It's three-dimensional, and understanding it directs us directly to the position. And strange enough, sometimes you come across it and you give your soul to it, that it stands and stops its loss of its entity, or what we call in the world of the man suffering. But you find out that in giving to stop, you might lead to demise of yourself, but it doesn't matter, because the need to give is much more than the need to take and to hold on to. It's not sacrifice, it's understanding the process of creation. What we're doing, we're training man to gain trust in his soul, in understanding the strength of his soul. And that's all it is, nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome. Any other question?
Okay, just trying to. There is a question from Hassan in the Q&A, and it goes like this. Mr. Keshe, I tried the formula, I love you, my soul, I live you, and I love you. Sorry, let me give you that again. I love you, my soul, I live you, and I love with you, and I adore you, which is one of your quotes. And what I receive from it is a deep breath, which helps me eat less. What means this breath? Thank you, blessings. From Hassan.
Is the fields of life, and that's what you receive from yourself. In so many dimensions, in a coming time, as you said, I wish and it happened. In a coming time, Mojans were taught this, but we never got to the end of it for them to understand. And that is, now that you say, I wish it happened, because I gave my soul to it. Now, start, if you understand the process in full, give to different part of your physicality from your soul. I would like my arms to be fed. Take whatever it needs, and never ask me at what time and when and where. You create a field for it that is there to take. And then you see how much less food you eat, because one arm is not taking more. And when you gain the confidence, not just the image of doing it, do it with a leg, do it with another leg, and then do it with an arm, another arm. Nothing will change. You feel the change in dimension, but you feel the total understanding. And in so many ways, it just builds up to the point that you consume less matter state, but in fact you feed yourself with the fields of your own soul, which it takes from the universe. And this builds up. You cannot say, I don't eat from tomorrow. I'm fasting. But you can start training step by step to be able to support your existence through the dimension of the soul. It's very easy. You create a gravitational magnetic field through your soul within the atmosphere of your body, and you feed it. In a recent experiment last September, we had a huge complaint from farmers. And this complaint repeated itself, so it could not be coincidental. And what happened, I don't know, in some of the teachings I have referred to it, is that in the part where the farm was unused, the GANS material, suddenly out of nowhere birds appear and ate the crop. Let's say we don't know how much, but it was so much, they did it so often in that period that the farmers were complaining beyond. And I said to myself, my God, these guys don't understand. And I said to knowledge seekers that the birds came to take their share because the plant was happy that he has produced so much he wanted to share. But the farmers were not happy. They complained and complained that we don't know, we never seen so much bird, but strange, have a look. This is the field. Where am I? This is the field, and we only water this. This part created 79 kilograms. This part created 249.5 kilograms. The same seed, the same. It's just the material I chose to do to feed created this condition. But the strange is, the farmers complained that they eaten, so we must have produced 500 kilograms here. That the birds have eaten half of it. They didn't eat from here. Did the fields create the emotion that we have so much, you better come and take? The plant is happy, the animal life is happy, but the farmer wasn't happy, but still with his greed tripled his harvest. Now, which part we don't understand? Or now, the way it's described, we understand the totality. Because we never considered that the plant is like a man, is generous, he has much, he says, come, I have too much. And the birds feels it. I stood watching, as I said, very recently, a large number of animals dying. We couldn't do anything, it's part of epidemic. But what was strange, and it touches the soul of the man, was very strange. When the animal was on the ground, and he was taking his last breath, the other animals come and push it. You feel it when the soul leaves, they shout and cry. The noise is deafening. They hear the departure of the soul of their one, and us, we just watch. Are we less than these animals? Have you seen when a man dies, the others shout and cry from the time the soul leaves? Or do we cry for our loss? They have no loss. But why do they cry so much? Why do they go so much crying to feel? Does their soul touches their soul that they feel it? Have we become less than animals? Or we have covered ourselves not to have no feeling, because then we have to use our soul to confirm we exist. I went into this position as a man, and I came out of that position as a different man. Because in the dimension of physicality, we are very much blocking the truth, the reality, because this is the only way we can handle it. But do we become, can we feel the soul of an animal when it dies? Or can we elevate it, that it becomes a pleasure than the loss to it? If it needs, it can take. I walked up and down the building, and I said to all, take as you need. I've come here to give. If you need, depart. If you want, you stay. As long as you're happy with the stay. I could see animals shaking their head in an unusual way. Because the pain of the physical loss and the way they were going through it was beyond the strength of humanity. And then you change, you understand. Do I love? Do I love to be here to watch this? Or am I loved to be here to be able to give? Or you go numb to it, that it's not mine, I've got nothing to do with me, I'm here just an observer. I cannot be an observer. Doesn't matter how I try. Because I know the truth, I know what it means to exist and what it means for the dimension of the soul. This understanding which makes it easier. Ignorance can carry on and we can stick to it. Any other question?
Wolfgang and Fried both say thank you in the live stream for your answers. Fried says thank you for the enlightening answer. Jedi Simon has made a comment a couple of times. Maybe I could read that as he says, just brainstorming, if science wants to move toward metaphysics, then it shall have to stop understanding phenomena using obsolete instruments. Although facing the holographic topic, we shall deal with a four-dimensional space, then by sectioning and secating by using 50 different kinds of tomography instruments, the images that you see will only be a consequence of planar thought. This does not mean that the universe is flat, but simply says that the mirror you are using is still the consequence of the use of a knife or a surgical scalpel. Subtle vision, whenever one reaches transparence, this spiritual vision shall allow him to unite rather than to cut in half things that and see what is inside. Planar reconstruction is still limited to 2 dimensions applied to the third. Bulk perception is still within the layers, placed one upon the other. All this apparently misses true curvature, and even holography is still based upon interference patterns that are a consequence of linear thought. So that was his thoughts on the matter.
Yes, you see, the holography, what we have, we see in the world of even our commercialization of pictures is different than the way the astro and cosmophysicists are trying now to elevate it. So it's a lot of understanding that it's not that it cannot be done, it's not that there's something wrong with it. It's wrong in hijacking a science and bringing a lot of fallacies to it to confirm that nothing exists. And it's all a mirage. Um, we create that dimension, a 3 dimension of manifestation through the field interactions, what we call it the portals. Portals are nothing but what you call a holography, but in a plasma dimension, not in the matter dimension, but in a dimension where the entity has control over its existence. Is not making an image, is in allowing the soul to manifest itself in the image it wants to be shown, not us forcing condition of its manifestation. It's a big difference. It's not that we put fields on another field to create a 3rd dimension to give it a motion, and as we see in some presidential presentation now, they make their image that they can transfer. There's a big difference between this and what we call portals and holography. If you take the man or the energy from the camera which creates that hologram, it has no soul. Even the image itself does not feel it if you touch it. But in a portal, the way you create the condition allows the soul to manifest itself, not the matter state. There is a lot of moving, creating through holography, matter state condition that you can touch the picture. But can you create the soul of the picture? The soul of the man which you touch in the picture. That it decides. It's your energy fields that it decides what the hologram is going to be. But in the portals, the way we create dynamic plasma is the soul which decides how it manifests itself. It's a big difference. And now some mathematicians and some astrophysicists in conjunction with mathematicians are hijacking this to confirm that nothing in life is real. There are fields, but they are tangible according to the strength of us, same as our skin. Our skin is not real, but the interaction of the field gives the visibility and tangibility of existence. And this is the secret, this is the separation. This is the understanding of the totality. This is to understand the difference between the matter state and the fields of the motion of the universe, as we call the plasma of the universe. But still the matter state is part of this structure of the motion, but in a lower strength, because he has done all his interactions. In nuclear physics, we call it nuclear decay. Why does it decay if it still has the same energy? It decays to be able to sustain the next life by splitting itself and annihilating itself. And it's chosen the characteristics of the field difference, that it splits itself to a neutron and proton. What happens in the cycle of an electron? Electron again divides into sub-electrons. Man has not gone that far to be able to see it yet. Life does not end as electron, as a package of energy. Life splits.
We did have a question regarding the electron just now, and the before you brought that up, from Alan of Romania, who is asking, he says, Rick, please ask this question. The electron is powered by proton energy inside the neutron environment. So is the soul physically energized by the central soul in the universe?
We all are energized at different levels once the structure is complete. When the soul of a man is created, it has a full spectrum, and different part of the soul of the man interacts and takes shape and function from different strengths of the universe. What does this mean? It's very simple. I explained this in one of the teachings some times ago. You have the soul of the man. We try to show it as a plasma. The soul of the man at this point manifests itself as a physicality. At this point here is at the strength of the soul of the creator, because it has dictated his position. The soul of the man in part of itself is dictated by the soul of the universe. The soul of the man in another part is dictated the strength by the soul of his galaxy. And the soul of the man is dictated by strength by the soul of his solar system. And the soul of the man is dictated in strength by the soul of the planet which has created the man. So, in essence, man carries all the strength of the creation, but is not aware of it, because the only thing he sees is at this level. So, we carry the full dimension, because without this, this would not have been here, and without this, this would not have been here, and the same and the same. The life did not start this way. The life started from the strength of the creation. So, the size of an atom on this galaxy, on this universe, is dictated by the central line of the galaxy, the universe. But the size of the atom in another universe has a different strength and is different size, which means has a different package energy. It's like another virus. Can man exist when he moves from one universe to another, understanding the difference, or does it prepare itself to mutate to higher strength? But in essence, this still itself has the same strength as the soul of the creator in common. Now, what do you call electron? Is certain amount of packages of energies which the condition of the central gravitational field of the galaxy dictates. The same is the soul of the creator decides on it, and the galaxy, and the solar system, and the planet. But in essence has to have a given size which dictates by the essence of the soul or the field of the central point. Otherwise, it would not take its position from it in that. It dictates, it takes position with respect to this, respect. I explained this in the teaching sometimes ago. If you look at it, this is the soul of the man. Or we call it, let's say, soul of the creator. Then you have the soul of the galaxy, or the universe. Then you have the soul of the galaxy, you have the soul of the solar system, you have the soul of the planet, and you have the soul of the man. And each one of them has a say and dictates the position. And each one of them moves the same. So is the same with the electrons, the same as the planets. The position of the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth is not dictated only by Sun and Earth. It's dictated by matter of positioning of all these in respect to each other and to the Earth. So is the same with the soul of the man and the dimension of the soul of the man. We are part of the totality, even though we are made as part of it by the field strength, by the interaction of the fields. As the soul of the creator shines out, leads to the creation of the soul of the man to the dimension of the strength to be created, so did the sun in creating all the planets in his solar system. There is no difference. It's just man who wants to make the difference, for him to be more, looking more educated. The Saturn would not exist if there was no sun. And it would not be in this position if there wasn't Jupiter and the Earth and something else. You take the Earth out of the equation, Saturn will be there. So is the same with the soul of the man and the creator. There is no soul of the man if there is no soul of the creator. And in the condition and where it is, in the strength, in essence, in the center, carries the same strength because it came from it. It dictates by its fields. It has to have part of me in it. And then the galaxy adds its part to it, so it has part of me into it. And the rest. The sun and the soul of the creator, in creation of a solar system and in creation of the man, are exactly the same function, but in different dimension. What is in the sun leads to the creation of the sun, the earth, the moon, Saturn, and everything else. So is the essence of the soul of the man, leads to creation of everything else, and the soul of the man, which came from the dimension of the tangibility and physicality of itself. Then what is the dimension of life in man? Any other?
Well, we have a further question from Wolfgang in the live stream. he says, if I'm stuck in a stone in the universe, the trick to go out of the stone is to change my field strength and field speed to get a different field than the stone.
You gotta find what is the field of the stone first.
Okay.
Then
And
then you can overcome.
okay, well, he goes on to say, and so on earth, to get out of a quote unwished situation like war and force and so on, what would be the trick to that if we look at the same analogy of the stone? We have to
You
get to
see,
know the situation first, perhaps, before we can change
there
it.
is what they call collective consciousness. Dr. Parviz refers to it a lot through his knowledge, through his work. But in the structure of the life of the man, you say to stop wars and other things, there is a collective consciousness by those who look at creation of war as confirmation of existence and power. It just need one to show them what they do does that stops the war. Blessed his soul, Fabio. Naomi said to me, he smokes and smokes, and he spends all the money on the smoking. I said to Fabio, you don't understand what you do you? He says, no, I just smoke for pleasure. I went out, I got a 50 euro note, and I rolled it. I didn't send it. I said, how much do you pay for this pack of cigarettes? I think it says 5 euro or something. I said, now can you burn this 50 euro? He said, I don't burn it. I said, you burn it in the steps. In 10 packs you burn it. Why don't you burn it in one go? And it's gone. Then you don't have to worry to burn it in the steps and harm yourself. When you burn it, you don't have the money to buy the cigarette. We have been put in a position that wars we would like to stop. But we stop the wars, we have tied ourselves so much to it that what are we going to do with all these jobs we have created? Listen to the talk of President Trump in past few months. An journalist was killed in a given position. They know the man was behind it, as they say. One man, as a spy or whatever, of Russian descent, assumedly was killed by his own nation. They have put the biggest sanction on Russia because of this man. Another body, which is a reporter, is killed, the same body, the same soul, by the same position, whatever it is, and the president says we cannot put any sanctions because 200 billion on deal is too big, too many jobs for us to sacrifice for one man. 17, 20 million walk away with nothing just because they can buy and support the American arm industry, and 170 million in Russia suffer because it wasn't even done by them. The process of stopping arm is not fighting the arms, it's to introduce a new technology to make them obsolete. Nobody buys. We've seen this. We've seen this in 1990s. Russians were the most advanced Eastern Bloc, the most advanced weapon technology, that the Americans built more and more nuclear weapons to stop that if they attack. And when the Eastern Bloc gates opened up, nobody wanted to buy a single gun from Eastern Bloc. They were so obsolete, they were out of date. Then what were we afraid of? Obsolete date guns, and they cannot sell it. So we had hundreds of thousands of people working in the arm factories of the Eastern Bloc without a job. They had to send money. The same with the miners which are digging the coals out in Russia. 8 billion was taken direct to Moscow, and the next morning, 9 o'clock, Yeltsin was found in a private account in Switzerland. Arms, arms selling, we cannot fight. Arms selling only stops when we introduce such a advanced technology that it becomes obsolete. Nobody wants to buy. Then that 200 billion has no meaning. Unless those in the country buying it have already banked the money in their accounts. The man's maturity has to come not by selling arms, is by developing new technologies that make killing and arms irrelevant. So when we wish for end of the war, it's not thing that I'm wishing. It's getting down and developing technologies that makes these things obsolete. That's all. If you are a man of peace and you do what I do, trying to, I put all my effort into peace, and we are getting there. We see it beautifully coming up. I could spend time in the factories making magnets to do this, making this, go in the financial direction, but this is not what I came here. I didn't come here to build up the technology to open factories and this. Yes, we do, because through it we create something, hobbies for the future. But we came to introduce a new technology that through it we create peace. Even be it that what each question came out before, I wish and it happened. I wish the such a person in such a position understands what is doing to his soul and the soul of his children. I reach out with the hand of my soul to give to him. He's getting a very good money from Lockheed Martin to make a weapon strike. And then he says, if I leave this job, what am I going to do with my children? No private education, no health care, nothing. I make arm, doesn't matter what my soul pays for it and my children pay for it in the future. This is what we have to learn, and this is what we have to understand. We can change the soul of the man to walk away from arms, but then it's as long as we are here, when we switch the machine off, the man goes back and make it. Unless the man understands that his physicality does not get involved to create suffering for his soul. It's very, very interesting. Very interesting. In many religious groups, you just name it, uh, they have armies. Why do the man of God need armies? We are here to conquer the soul of the man, not the pocket of the man. We see the head of the Vatican Church. He's a highest ranking military man. It doesn't fit. A man who says, I give life, I'm here to save life in the name of Christ, then he has an army that he kills. You see the same in the Islamic world. You see the same with the Jews. How can, in the name of God, we have military clothing? It doesn't fit. Unless it's business. In so many ways, the soldiers of what do you call uh, what you call creator, or you call it prophets or messengers or whatever, should be very much like a Taoism, very much like Buddhists, those are the peaceful manner. You conquer the soul of the man, not you kill the man in the name of God with the weapon of man. The present Pope is Jesuit. Is the head of the military arms of Vatican Christianity. How many people has he killed, or has ordered to be killed, and he still stands there in the name of the Creator? Hypocrisy. Doesn't fit, does it? It's the same as we have to sell arms, 200 billion. It's for jobs. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, good morning.
Good morning.
I got a question. There has been a wish released last week with the knowledge seekers that what you just explained is what we know today. But we cannot go back in the understanding where did the man started this path of killing in so many different ways and forms, because we have no way to go back and access that information. And that wish has been created for that to be brought forward. And I think you're the best person in position to maybe to open this up for us to understand where, at what point in time we have diverted from that path and why. Because maybe if you open it up and the understanding comes onto that level, maybe the whole of humanity will be able, through this understanding, as you always request from all of us, to go and elevate, to start making that change. Thank you very much.
What you see in the history of the man did not start with the man when he came out of the water. And it's the same with what is connected with, in so many ways, amino acid, which is connected to the dimension of the life, which took shape and place in liquid substance of this planet. Trees, what we call vertical people, mainly understood and relied on the path of the fields. And that's how they grow. It's not something we cannot do. Plants do. To absorb ray of the light, sun. What sun gives them, they don't go and steal. They don't go and take another package. And even if it means to come to the end of their lives, they shall not steal. They die in the place they are. We don't see them catching armies and fighting the others. In some occasions we see aggressive whatever they need to, whatever they don't see, or they've been built that way. But in general, we don't see any kind of killing. The position with the condition of creation of life, which leads to the dimension of amino acid, when it interacts with iron, in majority of the cases, it creates a condition of need for dimension of the faster absorption of energy. And that has come to the point to take from the others faster packages of energy. And then it comes to eating up bigger packages, bigger and bigger packages, because I can. Doesn't matter if fish eats little planktons, or a fish eats another fish, or a man eats another animal, because now it's so normal. I kill a pig, I kill a cow, so I kill another man. It's another form of life, it's finished. So the structure of the killing has come from the outset of need to survive, to do. And what has happened, what we have seen, and we hope will never happen in the world of creation again, is this balance of the nitrogen, carbon, and oxygen, and one hydrogen. In certain ways, when there is a misbalance, this creates a very fast flow and a huge reduction in energy, but still needs to sustain its structure. But when you have billions of these put together, you can take some from the environment, but you cannot take for everyone. And the problem with mainly what I call animals in the animal kingdom is that they layer each other so much that this is the top skin, middle skin, the other skin, and then, that this part in the middle cannot receive because they take hold. So now for its existence, it needs external entry. Fast conversion that I survive to. And don't forget, is connected to the soul of its structure, to the soul of the man. Soul of the man could not give to do, so has physicality has taken over to feed. And now it is taking so much hold that if you're an ant, you're a man, you're a cow, a fish, they all take packages. It's the easy way. It's gone into the mainstream RNA of the life, what I call in the horizontal. Vertical people have solved that problem by adding one element to the structure, that it takes fields from the universe. But universal and environmental condition dictate his life, and he has accepted it. I do not kill, but I stand the summer and the winters. I lose my leaves that time, because then I live in harmony with my environment. But horizontal people have bypassed this. We need to add something to the structure of the environment, that this adding up brings man to this. But movement, physical movement of vertical and physical movement of horizontal is totally different. And that needs a different package of energy. And that's why if you look, many, many horizontal people have picked up on a certain things, a speciality that they don't need to do for other things. That I specialize in, and I get my thalamus and thymus in my body to do the conversion what I need from one thing. If you understand, a man eats variety of vegetables, meat and everything to get the full spectrum of the energies it needs for total structure. But animals, certain animals only eat one thing only, always the same fruit, the same flower. But their thalamus and thymus have, in conjunction to each other, creates a condition that it converts again. It's the same monkey, but it's only one, but it still has the bone, it still has the liver, it still has the kidneys and everything else. How come everything comes out of one fruit? Because they have found the efficient way to come, in a way, guarantee their existence, because nobody else eats what they eat. They have chosen to eat because they have created a condition in the field that can convert this to anything they like. The arms and legs doesn't fall off by eating the same food and the same fruit all the time. One of the richest men in the world eats every night burnt steak with nothing, day in, day out. Literally a steak which is burnt to the skin. Burnt, totally burnt. You know, they literally give him solid piece of meat. It's like wood. He's one of the top 3, 4 richest men in the world. With all the wealth, this is the only thing he eats. But he still is the richest man, he still thinks the same, he still has the same physicality. And he's done this for years and years. But his body has learned to convert. And this is what, this is part of the structure of the new technology. To substitute that in the structure of this planet, that gradually we walk man to live, to understand that it can take from the fields of the environment. But what you gonna do? You're a fish, you're in the ocean, you don't eat, and you're given everything, you travel around the ocean, you travel around the planet. You're a man, you don't need the clothing now, you know how to eat, how to warm up. This is the process, this is what we have to understand, this is what is missing. It doesn't go with man, how we can change the man. Is the lack, as I said many times, is the deficiency in the structure of the RNA, which has affected the DNA, and in that structure stays the same. This is part of, as I said, many, many times in the world of science, we hear this quite often. A mouse has similarity 95%, 99%, whatever percentage, to man. Of course it does. We all came from the space of the Mr. Cohen. So our base is the same. And this is 99%. How it adjusted itself is the part. So we have to change something here with man, with what you call horizontal people, to make them to become like a vertical people. That's all is missing. And that sits in the structure of the soul of this amino acid, which has linked itself, unfortunately, to I. There's part of the technology which I don't teach. One day I might teach. And it's known as carbon 14. Carbon 14 has a lot to do with the behavior of man. And if one day we understand this, we can change the man. I'll tell you why carbon 14. In a vertical people, we have a magnesium. In horizontal people, we always suffer with this. This one varies from 42 to 44 energy balance of the field. This one varies from 55 to 58. Now you see where carbon 14 comes in. It's this gap which makes horizontal people dangerous. It's too big and it needs to be fed for this to exist as a horizontal. The closest we get to this is CH3. This is one of the reasons in my work I introduce CH3. It's not for you to be, it's for to close this gap. This is part of the problem. CH3 is between 13.5 to 15.5. Depends on the energy balance of the carbon and the hydrogen. You see, the construction of life is very simple. You have a CH3 and you have an amino acid. 14, 12, 16, and 1. Or you have 1, 1, 1, and 12. You can see very balanced base with a very low, very slow balance base with very high. In fact, when you lock it in, it becomes very much balanced, doesn't it? It gives you near enough to this is the reason I use CH3 in diabetic. It's the reason I use CH3 in a lot of things. But you put a CH3 in a specific condition, you kill. You see, if you redesign it, redefine it, it's very simple. You have 1, 12, 14, 16. You have 1, 1, 1, 12. Now you can see the pattern. But if you look at the real structure, this fits with this, and this fits with that, and in the process they create a balance field in the middle, round about 56. And then when it links up, does it need to link up with iron? Or does it behave and mimics the balance of it? Because there is a secret in the whole creation of CH3, the way we produce it. I've said that before. There's an iron in the middle, alloys, alloy materials on the side, zinc, nickel, whatever. This is alloy because the field strength in it can create a binding. So when you put your copper here, nano-coated, to make your GANs of CH3, the carbon energy release confirmation from interaction from the environment is the zinc mixture with the copper. That gives you your carbon. Then you have a problem. Then your problem sits with the iron. 56, 57, 59, 60. That is your H3. But it's the field which has created it. So what it does, your CH3 is the gravitational magnetic field orientation of iron. So when you put it with the amino acid, you have already have a common denominator in the field strength, that when it's created the field here in this interaction, you have amino acid which is balanced with the iron, and in being a balance, iron feeds itself, does not need to kill for it. Because don't forget, your carbon has a gravitational magnetic field strength of the copper in conjunction gravitational magnetic field of zinc. So it's directly connected to your muscles and to your nerve. And now you produce a condition that it connects to the iron. Is complete. You have every connection you need. You touch the soul of the man, you touch the physicality of the man. You bring a balance in energy transfer between the, what we call matter state plasma and the field state of the matter. Complete, is so complete. But none of you have understood this yet. That man doesn't need to kill. But this apparatus still needs a few bits to be added to it, that the man or the animal stops altogether. This CH3 elevates the soul of the animal. This CH3 elevates the physicality of the energy of it. This CH3 connects to the blood of the man through his eye. It has everything. I've given the biggest gift to mankind to walk away from killing. I will show how it works. You all made CH3 but never understand what gift you have in your hand. You connect this CH3 with the amino acid of it. My God, do you need to kill? I just need another 6-12 months. I'll enforce peace. Through the technology, man will never know what has happened. There's a lot more here missing. But as I said, we start teaching the basic foundation of the knowledge. Now you understand why I introduce different ways of things to be done. You're after the Maghreb, after the soul of the man. To change it, that it starts feeling its physicality, not just by energy of it. Any other question? It's nearly 3 hours or something.
So Keshe,
Yes.
this is Northwick. I have a question. The question is that the deuterium and CH, which is a space fuel, and CH3 are very close cousin of each other. So in going to space,
What?
deuterium and CH3 are very
Deuterium.
close.
Deuterium.
Yes. Yes.
How can deuterium be close to CH3?
The process in which it is made is very close to the CH3 process. So
it's not very close. No. Please understand the science behind it. Why you say that the process is the same? Do you know why?
The reason I'm saying that, go ahead.
If you carry on with the process of CH3 and you lose your coating, or what we call galvanized, because that's what it is, you are left only and only with one thing. You have a zinc copper plate with iron in between, some magnesium, then you have a copper nano coated. Yeah? 56. Sorry, 69, 59, 60, 57 to 58. Sometimes. Yeah? Here you are just about one different. And not all of it become. So what you are left with is gravitational magnetic field of one atom of hydrogen. It's not the same. It's exactly what it is. When you finish producing, you have no more copper, zinc left on yours, you only have the gravitational magnetic field images of the zinc which you had, but you only have now a imaginary cover of the zinc fields, but in reality the strength magnetic field of the iron. So some of the field, because this is not homogeneous, it's a spectrum of the field, some of them are energy of one things, and then in conversion it becomes, because it cannot be oxidized, itself is a complete, it becomes a nano-organic state of itself. It's not similar, it's because of, it's two different things. And when you stop creating, or you cannot create any more conditions, it does not stop. If you go through process of producing deuterium and CH3, you produce tons of deuterium and you produce very little of CH3 in comparison to each other. If you have made the ganses and you use the right system, you see Suddenly you're making the orange product CH3, and then it suddenly becomes black. And it becomes more and more of it. Because now you have no more zinc left on your coating. Now you're producing pure deuterium. It happens in the factories where we produce, mass produce. Sometimes they forget to change the plates and we hit. Instantaneously everything goes black. Because at that point, even some of the H3 converts to deuterium 3 times. And the carbon releases as gas, we see it. I created this technology. I know it inside out, from inner structure of the form of the fields it creates, not just by accident. And I can play with it anything. You should be able to define why it's similar. No, it's not. It's totally dependent with the other one is not. But strange enough is, if you put iron in with copper, you don't get this. You need that false fields of uh, zinc, which created the original CO2, because that field still stays, allows the release of hydrogen. This hydrogen is CH3, you have one proton, one electron. Deuterium, because of the condition it creates, it has its neutron where it is a complete atom. If you can push yourself to the boundary of limitation open, then you can get this too. This man doesn't understand yet. Because this too will behave as one proton, one neutron. And then in totality, they turn over this one, but with a gap distance. And this gap distance creates a new dimension of energy resources. Because you have 3 spare plasmas, but it's in a field condition, not in a matter condition, so it creates a ventilation, very much star formation of itself. And very, very active. Extremely active. Mankind cannot trap this, millions of times more powerful than any hydrogen bomb man has ever created. But this is a technique in the space technology, you can use it. And it's so active that in a condition, it becomes radioactive behavior. But it's not radioactive.
Mr. Keshe, when I said they're related, what I was trying to get to is that the zinc and the iron connection and copper connection that it has, how can we relate to this deuterium in that sense?
I just explained, you never understood. I just explained. Listen to past 5 minutes of teaching. Giving you the time of the recording, you'll go back and listen. I just explained it. I said you haven't understood. I just explained it. They are related because they are not related. They are created because of. You can produce deuterium in a very fast way. And if you're clever enough to play, you can create one of the biggest energy sources of the universe. Part of energy which leads to the creation and the startup of what we talked at the beginning, black hole, is this process. Unbalanced 2 proton neutron, in a way 2 proton have to behave as neutron 1, But this one is slightly out. So the spin starts. And in a way, a 3-proton center becomes a massive game. And strange enough, the electron pull the energy inside. Part of the creation of black hole comes from this. And if you know how to use it, how to create it, you can use it for transportation in the reactors. But at the moment, man's knowledge is not there. You see, it's it's a very easy combination. As I tell you, I'm a nuclear physicist. I know this knowledge inside out. When you have 3 protons and 3 electrons, and you can release the carbon of the CH3 as a gas, you have a strange situation. This has a polarity, and this has to match with this. At the same time has to match with this. This one has to do the same, and this chap has to do the same. It's a massive dynamism. That these electrons cannot follow the position. So they create a massive environment. This is the original creation of black holes. There is something in the world of cosmology that we go back to, and you might understand one day. The carbon strength magnetic field has a specific characteristics. That's why we see carbon across the universe, more or less, or carbon structure energy fields. The difference between the gravitational and magnetic field of any entity, balance field, because these are magraphs, these are not lines, is equal to balance of the strength of the carbon plasma. This is the mystery of the creation of the universe. When you see a light, light has 2 dimensions. It has a gravity which turns back on itself to come, but does not mix. That strength, magraph positioning between the two, is the strength of the carbon plasma field. That's why everything in the universe, more or less, has such a combination of the 6 electron and 6 proton and 6 neutron. It's a balance field shape as a diamond. It creates separation between the two. It's the insulator of the field. That's how magnetical and gravitational field in the same path never interact, because through the dynamic system they create diamond structure insulation, but through plasma condition, which is a carbon. This is the first time I released this knowledge. Man in the future understands. This is one of the cornerstones of the creation of the universe. Separation between the gravitational and magnetic field, you've seen me many, many times. I draw this. And I say one is gravitational and one is magnetical. What does it separate these two? Nothing. Nothing but the strength of the carbon 12. But in the plasma condition. Because it turns into the diamond, it creates separation between the fields. Carbon is not the only insulator in the matter state, but in its plasma state plays the same game. That's why we see so much carbon in the universe. It's a residual of when the fields open up. And then it becomes a corner of the creation. Because then it creates in what we see, what we don't see as conductivity and resistivity of the plasma field flow in what we call dimensions of the diamond structure of the plasma. These are all the knowledge which we released in the book of the magnetic field, the book number 8. You always wondered how we can have the fields passing each other and we have gravity and magnetic field at the same time. Now you understand the separation. They're totally two different fields. And they need to be isolated from each other. And in fact, if you look at it, it's not very far from H3. It's two H3s. If you look, you got your 6 electrons, but you have 6 protons, which at the same time through their dynamism mimic carbon without any neutron. Means they don't have central gravity, but they have a dynamic structure, which through theirs they can transfer fields equal, create isolation in plasma. Man, it's got a lot to learn.
That must mean you'll have to carry on for years of knowledge seekers workshops, perhaps, Mr. Keshe.
I want to live this life of physicality.
I thought you might say that.
Mans are too cruel.
There's a lot of suffering.
Yeah, why do I need it? I accepted the wrong mission. Next time he sends me somewhere, I said, go and do it yourself.
Been there, done that. No thanks.
No, let you suffer, not me. I've suffered too much in the hand of man. I think Christ chose the right path. Short and sweet. Did his job and he left and is admired for it. Any other question?
Well, I know that we're getting on here, and we're 3 hours.
Is what Flint wanted done?
I'm not sure if we still want to go ahead with that or not, or wait for. Okay, well, if Flint, do you have that ready, or shall we wait till next time, or another time? I'm not sure if Flint's still with us. He might. He's still.
Yeah, apparently it's ready.
Whoops, got an echo happening from somewhere there.
Yeah, apparently it's ready.
Yeah. Okay, well, we can give that a go.
Would you like to say what it is? I don't know what it is, but I know you have.
Well, Flint, do you want to explain? Maybe you're busy getting it ready.
Yeah, it's just a little video I put together for the 260th. We're celebrating 5 years.
Yeah, technically, there's some people that are going to say it wasn't really 5 years and so on, but it's 5 times 52 in that sense. It's just that the Knowledge Seekers Workshops actually started in March of 2014. And there were several in a row that were named by number, by day, from day to day rather than week to week. And that kind of threw off the number system. But we're celebrating 5 years of workshops in one way or another. And there's also the public teaching workshops, which came just before the knowledge seekers workshops and were sort of the
It
formation.
changed name from one to another.
Yes, right. And so, in any case, this is a celebration of a happy 5 years of knowledge seekers workshops and our acknowledgement of gratitude to Mr. Keshe and the Keshe Foundation and everyone involved with the creation of all of that. So I think Flint has it ready to go here.
Yes, okay.
You sound like God. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, sorry about that echo.
Thank you very much. Uh, we call it a day. We've been here long enough, and hopefully next week we learn more and we teach more. Um, After next week, we are in the Chinese New Year, and the whole process of the celebrating the Chinese New Year has already started. And hopefully, we have many of our Chinese friends with us into next week, and then into the Chinese New Year. Thank you very much for everyone and everything, and hopefully, we'll learn a little bit more in the coming time. A little bit more. today we set a new pattern of teaching more in the depths of the theoretical physics because it needs to be done. But at the same time, we open a lot of secrets in the line of creation for those who listen to these things in years to come to understand more of it, because at the moment it's very raw. A lot of you don't see connection, but there is a lot of knowledge there that will bring a lot of things forward and allows the work of the peace to take shape. Thank you very much for today, and we'll meet you next time, next week.
All right, most excellent. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, once again for yet another amazing Knowledge Seekers Workshop. This one has been the 260th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 24th, 2019. And special thanks to Flint for going double, triple overtime to produce that video for us. And we look forward to next week's teaching at the same time and same place. Okay, thank you. And I think we're ready to go out their final video.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.